fought the British fearlessly, especially when they began to encroach on Nandi land. His name was Koitalel Arop Samoye. Koitalel led the Nandi resistance against British colonial rule. He was the youngest of his father's sons, but he displayed the greatest ability in understanding prophetic signs. His father, who is said to have predicted his death, reportedly summoned his 4 sons as he saw his time approaching. He asked them to consult traditional brews in a pot. Koitalel, upon gazing into the pot, drew his sword in protest, having perceived the coming of the Europeans. Koitalel's father sensed danger and sent him to live with another tribe, the Tugen. When his father died, a succession dispute arose. Factions formed between Koitalel and one of his brothers. The dispute ended in 1895 and Koitalel was appointed successor to his father. When the British arrived, they slowly began to clash with the Nandi people. The major cause of contention was building of the railway. The British colonial government began building the Uganda Railway through the Nandi area. Koitalel then led an 11-year resistance movement against the project. One of the ways the Nandi frustrated the British was by raiding numerous caravans carrying telegraph and copper wire meant for the Uganda Railway. Fed up with the Nandi stubbornness, the British demanded that Koitalel pay a fine of 300 head of cattle or suffer the consequences of a combat assault. Nevertheless, the Nandi didn't budge. To end the resistance, the intelligence officer Richard Menzejon invited Koitalel to negotiate a truce. The peace meeting was to be held on October 19, 1905. Suspecting that he would be killed as his father Kimniol had feared, Koitalel instructed Menzejon to come with only 5 companions to meet him. Contrary to the agreement, and typical of the colonizers' behavior everywhere they went worldwide, Menzejon met Koitalel with 80 armed men. 75 of those men hid near the venue of the meeting. It is reported that when Koitalel stretched his hand to shake Menzejon, he was shot at point-blank range by Menzejon. This precipitated the end of the Nandi resistance. Menzejon is described by online biographers as a cruel, adventurous, and treacherous man who had few scruples. He is a man who killed for pleasure. He was tried 3 times over the Koitalel murder but was acquitted in all instances. Despite questions over his conduct as a soldier, he went on to become Chief Intelligence Officer of the British Army during World War II and was even decorated by the Queen. Back to Koitalel's death. It is said that where Koitalel was killed, sprouted tall baobab trees. It is claimed that Menzejon decapitated Koitalel's head and had some of his belongings sent to the UK. With Koitalel dead, the Nandi resistance was neutralized. The British proceeded to terrorize the Kipsigis and Nandi, evicting them from their land. The Europeans ended up settling in lands that belonged to the natives. The colonial system of forced labor was put in place, as were punitive taxes for Africans. Economic and racial segregation also resulted. His story has been immortalized in a museum in Nandi Hills. Please support my channel by sharing this video or subscribing.